If you want to join me with this opening song, you can find the words on page 358, or feel free to just, thanks, Jamie. Achat sha'alti meit Adonai, achat sha'alti ota avakesh, achat sha'alti meit Adonai, achat sha'alti ota avakesh, shivti, shivti, beveit Adonai, shivti, shivti, kol yemei chayai, shivti, shivti, beveit Adonai, shivti, shivti, kol yemei chayai, lachazot b'noam Adonai, uvaker behechalot, lachazot b'noam Adonai, to gaze upon the beauty of Adonai. One thing, I ask you, Adonai, to be with you all of my life. Achat sha'alti meit Adonai, achat sha'alti ota avakesh.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Shabbat Shalom. I'm Rabbi Jesse Epstein, and I'm joined on the Bima this evening by Rabbi Laura Rumpf, by our music director, Chava Morel, as well as by our talented instrumental team for the evening, Andy, Sean, and Judah. Thank you all so much. We gather in this sacred space tonight this sacred space that we know as Beth Am, in this city that we call Seattle, but also recognize as the ancestral land of the indigenous Duwamish tribe, who we regularly commit as an organization to supporting not just with our words, but with our actions through organizational donations and other means as well. Before we get started, I want to thank everyone who made it possible for us to come together this evening in community and prayer. Thank you to our dedicated facilities and security teams for keeping us safe and making sure we have everything we need ready to go. Thank you to Jamie for managing all of our tech needs, not just our microphones so that everyone in the room can hear us, but also all the moving pieces of the live stream links so that people can join us from wherever they are on YouTube or on our synagogue website. And to invite everyone who is joining us virtually into this space, and let you know, those at home, that we feel your presence in the room this evening. I'm going to invite us all to turn around to face the camera there with the red light, wave, and give a big old Beth Am Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. I now invite us to turn to the folks around us, especially anyone we don't know well, to wish each other a Shabbat Shalom. And now let's take a moment to settle into the space. We just heard the beautiful words of Achat Sha'alti, sung by Chava from Psalm 27, the psalm that we traditionally recite every day during the month of Elul leading up to Rosh Hashanah. In our heart of hearts, it is our greatest desire to dwell in the house of God, to feel the gentle, sacred, guiding presence of the Shekhinah. When we enter this building, in person or virtually, we are in Beth Am, the house of the people. And only within that house of the people, in the moments we all come just to be together, can we find ourselves also entering that Beit Adonai, that house of God. Let us enter that house now by lighting our Shabbat candles. Now, it just so happens that my in-laws are in town currently visiting Emily and I in our new home in Seattle. I'm excited to introduce them to you all. They're here all the way from Boston, but before I invite them up to light the candles, I'm curious, do we have any other out-of-staters here this evening visiting? Yeah. What state are you from? From Nevada. Anyone else? Yes. Oh, also Massachusetts. Okay, we'll have to do some talking later. Anyone else from out of state? All right, well then I will invite the four of you from out of state, if you're up for it, to come up to the bima and lead us into the house of God by lighting our Shabbat candles. That's okay. It's fully optional. Thank you. And I'll remind folks and say for those who don't know, since October 7th, 2023, we've been lighting not 2, but 3 Shabbat candles in order to light a flame for the hostages that are still in Gaza and for all the destruction that we see in the region and around the world.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner Shel Shabbat.
Amen, and You can all be seated. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
As we move into this month of September, whether that means for you the buzz of back to school, the back to fall turning of leaves from green to gold and brown, or some other form of seasonal return, the sense that we're in the spiritual preparation for a new Jewish year feels less and less abstract, to me at least. And for anyone who might be a little overwhelmed by the idea of adding one more thing to prepare or to get right or to have ready by a certain date, the Shabbatot of Elul, these 4 weeks that we have leading up to Rosh Hashanah, are actually dripping with sweetness and compassion. They're not a call to strain past our limits, but in the invitation to reflect and to both look backwards and forwards, we invite a God who is our most beloved source, or a source beyond ourselves, if that's not God for you, to join us in meeting the year as we are. And Hebrew is a language that has all kinds of fun hidden nuggets of wisdom in it, including lots of poetry and acrostics, one of which happens to be that the letters of this month of Elul, the Hebrew month coinciding with September that we're in, spells out Ani ledodi v'dodi li. And this is a verse that is exchanged as wedding vows sometimes. It's a beautiful love poetry from the Song of Songs. And I hear in that a hint that not only on Shabbat, but especially on the Shabbatot of Elul, we are tapping into a source that is dripping with love, that is dear, that is beloved, and that wants to embrace us with compassion. And so that is the source that we are singing to and singing about in these Kabbalat Shabbat songs that we're approaching now, starting with Dodi Li, and then moving right into Lecha Dodi, both of these a sense of beloved. I invite you, if there's someone that comes to mind that just feels dear to you, that you want to dedicate this love song to beyond Shabbat, please do so. Continue either in your prayer books on page 20. We can follow along here with Lecha Dodi. I'm noticing this is a Sephardic edition that we'll be singing, Sephardi melody, which I think is particularly cool. And I've been learning from a friend of mine, Rabbi Ronit Tzadok, all about the Sephardi customs leading up to Rosh Hashanah, which are different. There's a whole seder that involves fish heads and all kinds of fascinating tidbits to explore, different visuals, different tastes and sights and sounds of the new year. So I'm excited to dive more into that. Chava, did you want to say anything about Lecha Dodi?
Well, this is the first melody of Lecha Dodi that I ever learned when I was a kid. And I didn't know it was a Sephardic melody then, but that's how it's attributed in our sheet music. And so that's how we communicate it amongst the band. But listen to it and see if you recognize something that sounds Sephardic to you in it, and we'll talk about it at the oneg afterwards.
Lecha dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat mekabela. 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 Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, Hishmiyanu el hamyuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, L'shemo tiferet v'litila. Lecha dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat mekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat mekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, Ki hi mekor habracha, Merosh mikedem nesucha, Sof ma'aseh v'machshava tchila. Lecha dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat mekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat mekabela. He toreri, kiva ore kumiori, uri shir daveri, kevod Adonai Allah yikniva. Lecha dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat mekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat mekabela.
We rise and face our entrance.
Boi v'shalom ateret bala, Gam b'simcha u'v'tzola, Toch emunei am segula, Boi chala. Lecha dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat mekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat mekabela.
We are already in a prayerful stance of attention, so hold it there. And if you need to adjust yourself to be even more present, please do so as we turn to the Baruch Hu, our prayer that formally invites us as a minyan, as a collective of community who are intentionally here together to pray. On page 28.
La
Please be seated. The poet Stanley Kunitz writes in his poem, The Layers, "In my darkest night, when the moon was covered, a nimbus-clouded voice directed me, live in the layers, not on the litter. Though I lack the art to decipher it, no doubt the next chapter in my book of transformations is already written. I am not done with my changes." And I think about that welcoming in of changes, or at least anticipating change, whether we want it or not, and the inevitability of change. And as we bless the sun coming down from the sky and the evening day transforming into night, we get to practice the daily change of rhythm that is part of what helps us attune to the bigger changes and transformations that we also go through together. We're on page 30 in the Hebrew. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim behochma poteach she'arim uvitfuna mishaneh itim umachalif et hazmanim umisader et hakochavim b'mishmerotechem berakia kiretzono borei yom v'layla golel or mipnei choshech v'choshech mipnei or umavir yom umevi laila umavdil ben yom uvein laila Adonai tzvaot shemo el chai v'kayam tamid imloch aleinu leolam va'ed Baruch atah Adonai hama'ariv aravim. Blessed are you who brings on evening. You have a special ahavat olam that reminds me of one of my favorite teachings that says to make your heart a heart of many rooms. So there's room for all of it, however you want to take that. And so with that,
The walls are coming down and down and down. Life is going round and round and round. Love, it will be found and found and found. It's all inside of you. Oh, heart of mine, lost and find, my home is sometimes near and sometimes far. It's always changing. Oh, heart of mine, take the time to feel the sadness. Love is always near. It seems they go together. The walls are coming down and down and down, and life is going round and round and round, and love, it will be found and found and found. It's all inside of you. Ahavat olam. Ahavat olam Beit Yisrael. Amcha ahavta. Torah umitzvot chokim umishpatim. Otanu limadta. Baruch atah Adonai ohev amo Yisrael.
thanks, Jamie. That actually means to listen, so it's better if you can hear me. And as we come to Shema, it strikes me that we end on this note of echad, of oneness, And there's also a unique diversity to the ways that we each experience the Shema. Some of us have the custom of rising. Some of us have the custom of closing our eyes or even putting a shin with our fingers at our forehead to center ourselves. Some of us may say Shema first thing in the morning or last thing before you go to bed. Whatever your particular unique variant of praying this is, I just love that we get to celebrate uniqueness and oneness simultaneously. So if it is your custom to rise for Shema, please do so. And whatever choreography with that allows you to really center yourself in these 6 potent words.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
Please be seated. Typically, we have a bar, bat, or beit mitzvah student to put on the spotlight to showcase their knowledge of the Ve'ahavta at this time. We have a minyan service that this coming Shabbat, so instead we are all going to channel our inner student. Perhaps something that you really loved learning or something that was challenging for you as we approach the Ve'ahavta, and we're going to empathize with all those B'mitzvah mitzvah students that are also working hard to internalize this prayer.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol meodecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibartam v'shivtecha v'veitecha uv'lektecha v'derech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, Liot lachem lelohim ani Adonai Elohechem.
We come to Hashkivenu, a prayer that even has hush in its first word, and that sense of shelter and peace that we're inviting is not one that is closed off or that draws us into a narrow place, but a sense of peace, a sukkat shalom that is expansive and that is ever more able to cover more people who are in need of a sukkat shalom, of a shelter, a place to feel safe, a place to feel grounded. And so when we offer this prayer, we take it into ourselves so that we can actually have that felt sense and share it with others in the world. Page 42.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, l'shalom. V'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Amen. Shelter us beneath thy wings, O Adonai. Guard us from all harmful things, O Adonai. Keep us safe throughout the night, till we wake with morning's light. Teach us good wrong from right, O
We have the opportunity now to weave our collective prayers together with our personal prayers, what each of us has most intimately brought to this evening, the prayers we're holding in our hearts. So I invite you to rise however you're able as we turn to the Amidah. Starting on page 46, we'll begin together on page 46, and then we'll also have time for silent prayer.
Adonai Sifatai Tiftach Ufi Agitehi Latecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Vekoneh Hakol, Vezocher Chasdei Avot ve'imahot, Umevi Geula livnei v'neihem, Lema'an Shemo ve'ahava, Melech Ozer u'Moshia u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor le'olam mechaye hakol berachamim rabim somech noflim verofech olim umatir asurim umekayem emunato lishenei afar michamocha ba'al gevurot umido melech melech memit umechaye umatzmiach Yeshua v'neman atah hachayot hakol baruch atah Adonai mechaye hakol atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh u'kadoshim b'chol yom yahalalucha selah baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh.
You ever notice that sometimes contrast helps us appreciate things a little more and dig into that awe and wonder? Like, it takes the coldest day of the year in winter to appreciate the heat, and it takes the hottest day of the summer to appreciate a cool day. That's how I feel sometimes, and that is how I feel during this time of year, especially when every day during Elul I try to hear the sound of the shofar. Even if I don't, I know a big blast is coming. All that noise of the holidays is right around the corner. It is the moments of silence that help me to appreciate the beauty in those sounds. And so at this time, we will take in the stillness and the sound, the stillness and the quiet, in order to appreciate the sound that's coming. Feel free to engage in your own silent prayer, and whenever you are done, you may be seated and continue to hold that silence for others until we are all completed.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata hu melech Adon L'chol hashalom, ki ata hu melech Adon, l'chol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam Tasim Leolam Tasim Leolam.
Amen. Adding to our personal prayers and our prayer for peace, Shalom Rav, we also include a prayer for healing. At this time, I invite you to call to mind anyone in your lives, yourself, or family member, or a friend, anyone who is in need of healing of body, mind, or spirit. And as my eyes meet yours, I invite you to share their names either aloud or in your heart. Judith Martin and Steve Martin. Page 253, our prayer for healing.
Those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say,
May God swiftly send them a complete renewal of body and spirit. And let us say once again, Amen. Amen. So 1 month ago today was my first day on August 5th coming into work at Temple Beth Am. In some ways, I'm still settling in. The office furniture is on its way. I'm still tweaking my email signature. And I'm still meeting many of you for the first time. And I imagine those first meetings will continue for quite a while. But in other ways, it already feels like I've been here for years. This has been a packed month. I have met many of you. My rabbinic library is more or less halfway unpacked. And I've been integrating myself into all the wonderful programs we have here at Beth Am, our services, of course, but also our special events, our preschool, and of course, High Holy Day preparation. And outside the synagogue, the settling in continues as well. Emily and I have been exploring our new surroundings, discovering walking paths, the most scenic of views, and fantastic food spots. But right at the top of my Seattle favorites are the farmers markets. They are so lively. I arrived in Seattle at first feeling a little nervous about being so far from my beloved New York and the Jewish community that I knew. But the very next morning after I arrived on Saturday at the farmers market, I walked right past the hummus booth, and the stall operator saw my kippah and shouted, "Shabbat Shalom!" Hearing that on my very first day in this city, I realized that maybe this place would feel like home sooner than I imagined. And so Emily and I strolled through the farmers market, picked out some lunch and produce, and tried to buy flowers, which turned out to be surprisingly difficult. Several competing booths were set up side by side, sort of, each with different prices, styles, and sales tactics. How to choose? The budget-minded part of me wanted to save money, while the beauty-minded part kept gravitating towards the pricier bouquets. We picked them up, checked each side, compared colors in the light. We made sure that no flowers were broken or decaying. I even found myself smelling a whole bunch of them. And here's the thing. I started to feel bad for the stall operators whose flowers we ultimately didn't buy. They gave us their undivided attention, they asked about our budget, they suggested colors, and they worked hard to make a sale. Every answer I gave back to their questions made me feel like I was stringing them along. And meanwhile, other customers might have passed them by while they were stuck with me. The guilt. But what was worse, I wasn't ready to buy yet because I still wanted to see what the other booths had to offer. And it felt just as hard to stay there and feel that guilt with all their questions and answering their questions, making them think they were definitely getting a sale. It felt just as hard to walk away mid-conversation as it did to stay. I didn't want to be rude. Each passing second, the guilt increased and it became harder to leave without buying something. Rest assured, we did our due diligence and walked away with a beautiful bouquet. And yes, I know what you're thinking. How does a rabbi have so much social anxiety? Touché. But I'd bet some of you know the feeling. Because on the outside, a farmer's market seems so casual and fun. Strolling with friends, sampling treats, soaking in the colors and the smells. At a glance, it almost looks like a real-world Sukkot festival, right? After all, Sukkah just means booth, and Sukkot means booths, stalls decorated with colorful signage, open-air table seating, produce on display. It feels very familiar. But when we look closer, we realize that a farmer's market is not a Sukkot festival. Sukkot, fine, booths, I like that argument, but it is not a festival. It's still a market. At its core, it's a business designed to feel more homey and communal than the corporate capitalism we're used to. But farmers markets, stripped of some of their aesthetic features, are places of buying and places of selling. Profits must be made. The farmers market, a variation on the classic marketplace, no, not Facebook marketplace, although that's absolutely another variation. But a farmers market, like any marketplace, operates on an unspoken system of rules. Some are spoken. How to politely decline a sample, how to appropriately haggle, how to set up and respect stall space of your neighbors when you're a stall operator, how, both for sellers and consumers, to handle compost and waste responsibly, to make sure that offerings are put in compostable containers, and to make sure that those containers and other containers ultimately make it not to the floor, the asphalt, but over to the correct bin. A lot of work went into developing and implementing these systems, and we could spend all night unpacking the intricacies of farmers market business ethics. I'm tempted. And while we're not going to do that, I do want to tell you that as I walked through the market that day to pick up some flowers, I ended up asking myself, okay, how do I show up here as a Jew? I don't just mean wearing my kippah and wishing the hummus guy a Shabbat Shalom, but as a Reform Jew, someone who, like most other Reform Jews, proudly states that the most important thing to me about being Jewish, and there are a lot, but the most important is the set of values that I've inherited. The set of Jewish morals and wisdom that I was taught by my parents and teachers and rabbis, and that I try to proudly live by each and every day. What are my ethics in this place that I find myself, and how do they help me navigate the systems that I'm encountering? After all, Judaism is quite old, and for a very long time, Jews were limited in occupation to merchants and traders. There must be some wisdom on how to go about navigating a marketplace. And boy, is there. For centuries, as I said, we were merchants and traders. Our tradition is full of teachings on business ethics that have been expanded upon and debated for millennia, many of them originating in this week's Torah portion, Ki Tetzei. This parsha lists a rapid-fire set of ethical rulings with little explanation, leaving generations of rabbis and Jews to debate and expand on them. The work of interpreting them, of course, continues today in the field of business halakha. We don't have time to unpack all of it tonight. Again, tempted. But let me share a sampling. In this parsha, we encounter laws of inheritance of any and all property, including, presumably, business ownership. The absolute requirement to return lost items you come across that another might have used for their business. The Torah talks about oxen and sheep that farmers rely on for their livelihoods, but maybe today we could imagine coming across company car keys that an employee accidentally dropped on the sidewalk, or even the plant clippers that one of the flower stalls at the farmers markets relies on to put together their beautiful bouquets. We come across that when raising poultry, we are not to harvest eggs or young birds without removing the mother from the situation or the nest first. We might think today about buying eggs at the supermarket and taking in all the different options, cage-free, free range, no hormones added, and so on. Perhaps the Torah and our Jewish ethics here tell us not to just go for the cheapest eggs, but to learn something about these classification systems and to make an informed decision about the way these animals are treated. Next in the parsha, we have a requirement to build railings on buildings that have rooftop access to ensure the safety of anyone who goes up there. This might be, by the way, the very first form of OSHA compliance in the history of the world. And then we get a requirement to build our bathrooms away from the areas in which we sleep and eat and work, essentially to keep our homes and businesses hygienic. Going on, we have restrictions on interest for loans, as well as how and where we are allowed to collect loans, a requirement to protect slaves who come to you in an effort to escape harsh treatment. Caveat, I know it's we have to swallow the premise of slavery for this one, which is obviously terrible, but it is a fact of the biblical age, and it is worth still asking ourselves what we can glean from the business ethics of a capitalist system that did include slave labor. And then we get the restriction to take as collateral the objects that someone relies on either for their dignity or for their livelihood, the clothing off their backs, the mill that they use for their business, and presumably that means the whole business as an entity as well. We are told not to abuse a needy and destitute laborer, not to exploit the poor for our own gain, not to tamper with weights and measures that determine the cost of goods sold by mass or volume. We are told not to delay the payment of any employees in this parsha. And finally, although of course it's not final because there's even more that I wish I could include in this sermon tonight, but we have laws that state when you harvest your wheat field, you must leave behind any forgotten sheaths for those in need. When you harvest your olive trees, you must only beat the branches once, leaving behind any olives that don't fall the first time. for those in need. And when you harvest your grapevines, you must not double back to pick any grapes you missed the first time. Once again, those go to folks in need. Businesses, it seems, are required to give some of their product to charity, to those who can't afford their products. And the text even gets into the reverse scenario. If you find yourself in someone else's field in need of something to eat, careful, it's not just a free-for-all. Jewish business ethics strive to protect all parties, not just consumers, but sellers too. Yes, if you're in someone's field, you can pick a few ears of grain to eat, but you better not bring a sickle with you to start harvesting as much as you can. And sure, if you're in someone's grapevine field and you haven't eaten vineyard, and you haven't eaten, go ahead and pick some grapes. As many as you can eat, on the spot, or even carry in your arms. But when you start showing up to that vineyard with a bucket and filling it with as many grapes as possible, that is when you are abusing the fragile system and putting the farmer's business in jeopardy. This ruling, by the way, about being in someone else's field and being able to pick some of their food for yourself is what led in the Middle Ages to the rabbi's halachic ruling of mandatory lunch breaks. The rabbis decided that this line in the Torah that I've been talking about applied to all paid laborers who work on farms and even beyond that, and that they are entitled to eat a set amount of the food that they are harvesting on behalf of their boss. It's amazing how thousands of years after the Torah was first written, the rabbis sought to apply its principles to their own environments, which had much more evolved systems of commerce and thus required more complex rules. Not only did they apply these verses about harvesting a little bit of someone else's field as mandatory lunch breaks, but they interpreted the whole don't bring a bucket or a harvesting sickle thing to also mean that you shouldn't bring extra items that enhance the food in any way. For example, if you're a laborer on a grain field, sure, you can enjoy a bowl of cereal, but don't start baking it into bread. And definitely don't bring butter and jam with you to work to make your free food even more desirable. This might all sound harmless, but not only are all these extras, like turning the grain into bread, going to take away from the hours you spend working and thus hurt the business, but making the grains as tasty as possible with extra spices and salt and altercations, it's going to make you want to take more than you otherwise would have, more than your fair share. Once again, hurting the business. Today the process continues. Perhaps within this ruling, we can understand it as a Jewish value to offer employee discounts on company products and services, in the same way that medieval Jewish farms were expected to let their employees consume some of the produce that they harvested. Perhaps we can understand it as a Jewish value to set up lost and found bins everywhere to return those items we find. And perhaps it's even a Jewish value if you have no intention of buying flowers from a particular farmer's market stall to not waste all their time chatting about their products and to instead brave the discomfort and say thank you, but maybe next time. Shabbat Shalom. As we turn towards the conclusion of our service, I now invite us all to rise in body or spirit for the Aleinu, which we can find on page 282, continuing on page 287.
Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon hakol, latet gedula liotzer breshit, Shehu notesh shamayim v'yosed aretz, u'moshav yikaro b'shamayim ima'al, u'shchinat uzo b'govhei meromim, Hu Eloheinu ein od, va'anachnu korim, umishtachavim umodim, lifnei melech malchei hamlachim, hakadosh baruch hu, v'nemar, v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz, bayom hahu, yeh Adonai echad, hu Shemo echad.
Before we conclude our service, we always take some time for sacred memory, to think about our love for those who are no longer physically present, but always remain in our minds and our hearts. Today, Temple Beth Am remembers, in the period of Shiva, Shelley Sherman, the stepsister of Cynthia Schulman and aunt of Rebecca Papa George Himmelman. In Shloshim, we recall Anne Crosby, the sister of Margie and Carolyn. We remember Carmen Jean Dolan, the mother of Chuck and Ted Dolan, mother-in-law of Bunny Hirschman and Allison Dolan, and grandmother of Wayana Dolan. And on their yard sites, Evelyn Burnson, George Bonhoff, Blossom W. Cohen, Julia Eulenberg, Rudolph Fellner, Esther Hannah Fishman, Cheryl Friedman, Peter Genatasio, Joseph Greenberg, Ruth Grotzman, Dorothy Hornstern, Pamela Jacobs, Rita Kahn, Glenn Kaufman, Martin Keene, Carol Lavicott, Jonathan Lazarus, Elaine Leviton, Ruth Lubarsky, Maria Magnus Palmer, Reuben Marshall, Juan Metzger, Dolores Newman, Rhoda Oakes, William Olson, Kenneth Rosen, Murray Rubin, Irving Noah Siegel, Thomas Simon, Carl Simpson, Amy Louise Spencer, Gerald Jerry Schwartz, Riva Schwartz, Jack Wexler, Abe Wexler, Nathan Warshow, Joseph Zabinski, and Herbert Zlotnick. If anyone else has any additional names to add to our collective remembering this evening, whether you are remembering someone on their yard site, the anniversary of their death, or you are observing a period of mourning the first week, the first month, or the first year, I invite you to share their name now as my eyes meet yours. Now, if you are observing a yard site this evening, I invite you to rise. If you are observing a period of mourning, I invite you to rise. I invite the rest of us to first look around, to acknowledge those in mourning, and to show our kavod, our respect, by standing with them and joining in the words of Kaddish Yatom, the Mourner's Kaddish, on page 294. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'oma divrach chirotei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayachon uvyomechon uv'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kari v'imru amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevarach le'alam olamei amaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitalev v'yithalal shmei d'kudasha brechu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama Rabbah min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru amen. May the one who makes harmony on high make peace for all who mourn. Zichronom levracha, may their memories forever be a blessing. And let us say together, amen. Amen. You may be seated. Now, sacred memory is so important to us here at Beth Am, and so is sacred celebration. And we always take a minute before we close our service to bring in our smachot, our individual joys and celebrations, into this space to share with one another. So if anyone has a special simcha from the past week to share, a momentous occasion or big milestone, or some other big joy to share, I invite you to raise your hand as I come around with the microphone and we'll hear them together. All right. Let's see. Yes. Right here. And say your name, Preston.
Okay, I'll say my name, Preston.
Thank you.
We're going to be gone for a few weeks in England, Ireland, and France to celebrate Steve entering a new decade this month.
Yom Huledet Sameach, happy birthday, and Mazel Tov. Enjoy the trip. Okay, who else has a simcha to share? Yes.
I'm Anne, and I started my new job
right.
yesterday.
Nice.
And it's going great.
Congratulations, Mazel Tov. We are all rooting for you in this new capacity. Yes.
I'm Ruthie, and this week I got a 171 on my practice LSAT.
Oh my
So
God,
very close to my goal
wow.
score.
Okay, Yasher Koach. Yeah, that is wonderful. We are rooting for you as well.
My son Joshua, who went to Temple here, and his wife Leora had a premature baby a week ago today in Mount Zion. He is still in the NICU, but his name is Rio Emmanuel Finn Friedman.
Oh my God, a new baby. Congratulations to your whole family, Mazel Tov. This is the best news, right? Welcoming a new member of the family. So yes, and of course we're all holding him in our hearts and praying for his continued health and that of your whole family. Yes. Yeah, another one over here. Yes, I'll come around over there. Then we'll come back here. I skipped my run this morning, so that this is good.
I'm Tony. Technically it's next week, but on Thursday I get to go home for a little bit, something that's becoming more rare.
Oh, no, and you said that's Nevada, right? That's,
Yeah, Las Vegas.
Las Vegas. Wonderful. Well, have a great trip, and I hope you take all that in and enjoy it. Yes. All right. I can't tell if some of the pointing is hand raising or pointing. I'm going to come back here and circle around, and we will make sure to get everybody. Yes.
I'm Jaxie, and my younger daughter Eve, who's 24, is moving to New York on Tuesday with her boyfriend.
Wow. From here? From here, wow, big move. I would know other direction, but you must have a lot of joy and mixed feelings about the move, and we're yes, that is good. We all send that blessing, and may Nisiyat Tova, may it be a good journey and a good chapter. Yes. All right, here we go.
Hi, I'm Emily, and I'm going back to work because the school year's restarted, and that means that I get to see my debate kids again, which is always a real joy because they always have like really interesting things to say and, really interesting thoughts that I'm really not expecting. So it's been great.
All right, a reunion for which we invite you, when the time comes, when you get there, to say the Shechianu, which is what we do when we reunite with someone we care about. Say it to yourself or out loud, and tell us all about it when you get back. Yes?
Hi, I'm Brian, and this is Mackenzie's first Shabbat service.
First ever Shabbat service? Welcome. And how is it going for you? What do you think? Good. We got a thumbs up. Okay, good. Welcome. We're so glad that you're here. And yes.
Hi, I'm Judah, and the school year started, and they were building a new remodeled school for 2 years, and now it's finished. They had the ribbon cutting ceremony today. It's really cool.
That is wonderful. Congratulations on the new school. It's always wonderful to see the youth valuing their education. We love it. Thank you for sharing.
Hi, I'm Matan, and my friend could finally make it to Washington to hopefully join me in services next week.
Okay, please bring them. That's wonderful. Another reunion, another Shechianu moment. Mazel tov. Yes.
I'm Bernice, and on Tuesday, I got some good news. I got an upgrade to first class on a flight the next day, and I got 3 Yahtzees while playing one game with my daughter and son-in-law.
This is good. It is so important to celebrate the wins day to day, hour to hour, the little things too that fill us with joy, and especially that flight. You're gonna be grateful when it comes. So wonderful. Yes. Was there one here? Is there? Yes. Okay.
Rabbi, I don't want a commentary on this, but I was celebrating picking blackberries.
It is the season. I've been enjoying the blackberries. Yes, the wild berries. Yes, yeah. It's wonderful. That is a huge simcha. Any last one? Yes. All right.
After Shabbat.
Yes, after Shabbat. For those on the live stream, the comment was for whoever should get 3 Yahtzees, Bernice, in a row, to buy a lottery ticket after Shabbat. Next week's sermon can be on the ethics of gambling. This week is business ethics. But with all of these heartwarming smachot, there is so much joy in this space. Let us lift a glass to all these special moments in our lives by joining together for Kiddush. We are on page 5. Thank you, if you want to follow along.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron lemase v'reishit ki hu yom techila lemikra'e kodesh zecher litziat mitzrayim kivanu v'acharta ve'otanu kidashta in kol hamim ve'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashabbat
Break bread with one another by joining together for our motzi. Yeah. Yes.
Safe contact with anyone near you.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz Shabbat Shalom. Thank you all for being here this evening. Chava and our band, let's sing it out. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat.